But back to sheeps, wolves, and sheepdogs. How many of you guys have seen the movie American Sniper? Okay, at the beginning, the flashback scene where he's sitting at the table, like they start talking about that. Well, that all comes from the book On Combat by Colonel Grossman, who's an Army Ranger, and he was also the psychology professor at West Point. So, smart dude and a badass. Pretty awesome. I'd highly recommend reading that book. Because when you start trying to think about crime and bad things, and you're trying to look at it through your own filter and your own perspective, that's the incorrect filter. So this really helps you. It's like required reading to all my cop buddies and stuff like that. They're like, this is the book, you have to buy it, but it comes from there. And it says there's 3 types of people in the world. There's sheep, which are everyday citizens, let's say 80% of them, of the human population's sheep. These are just everyday people. They just like going around there with their life, and they don't like to think about bad things or anything like that. 10% of the population's wolves. Those are the bad guys. They're the ones who eat the sheep. They're the ones who come and look for victims. So they're the criminals, they're the murderers, they're all that. Sheepdog. Sheepdogs are the protectors. They protect the flock. Like one sheepdog can keep the whole flock safe. But sheep, they don't really like sheepdogs because they kind of look like a wolf, don't they? Like a wolf, dog, sheepdog, fangs. They kind of move, look the same way. When wolves aren't around for a long time, the sheep actually start resenting the sheepdog. And they're like, you know what? We'd rather you put on a sheep coat and just pretend to be like this. Like, it just reminds them that there's wolves out there. You're paranoid. Like, why do you have to think about that kind of stuff? So that's how they think until a wolf comes. Then guess what? They all cower behind the sheepdog. So after 9/11, and they talk about this On Combat, you can actually Google Sheepdog Bravo PUA, and it pulls up a link on my forum where it has the whole passage from the book. And if you just read that, that's good, but I'd recommend reading the whole thing. But it talks about how after like the Columbine shooting, like the kids that like jumped on the cops and were holding on to them, they had to pry them off afterwards because these are the ones that are going to keep people safe. So when you start getting into that mindset, and you're like, all right, there's wolves out there. Am I going to be a sheep or a sheepdog? Now the problem is, like I have no problem if people are sheep. That's fine. But for some reason, sheep have a problem with people being sheepdog. So that's where the issue comes. So I'm not telling you guys to be sheepdogs, but you should at least, like I said earlier, learn how to protect yourself and your loved ones. And we'll get more into that.